Hold on. All right, everyone. Welcome to the Cozy Mystery Book Club. I am S.E. Biglow. I am here with the very lovely Zara Keane for this month's interview. And I am going to just read her bio real quick here. So, USA Today best-selling author Zara Keane grew up in Dublin, Ireland. I'm very jealous. But spent most of her summers in a small town similar to Ballybeg and Smuggler's Cove in her movie club mystery series. When she is not writing, she can be found knitting, running, playing unplugged games, and adding to her very large lipstick collection, which I also find an interesting hobby. So, as we know, this month's book is Apocalypse Meow, which is part of your movie club mystery series. Can you kind of tell us about that a little bit?
Yeah, Apocalypse Meow it's actually book 7 in the Movie Club Mysteries, and it features a cat who appeared in book 6, Some Like It Shot. And the cat in book 6 was just a side character, and he came in relatively late into the story, but I really fell in love with this character of the cat, the crazy cat, and the cat's interaction with my two main characters, the sleuth Maggie and her sidekick Lenny. So the cat is called Quibbles, and Quibbles is a Maine Coon and a show cat. And in Apocalypse Meow, the story revolves around Quibbles taking part in a contest to become the face of a luxury pet food brand. And he's made it like to the last round of the auditions, and he's been getting death threats, or rather his owner has been receiving death threats. And therefore she hires Maggie and Lenny from Movie Reel Investigations to accompany Quibbles to the auditions and keep him safe. So off they go, and they're expecting this weekend of absolute luxury in this fancy 5-star hotel. Okay, yes, they've got Quibbles the cat who hates Maggie and attacks her, but they're going to have 5-star luxury and massages and everything. And they roll up to this gorgeous place, and there's been a sewage pipe burstage.
Oh no.
So, not happening. And then they have to scramble and find an alternative place to stay. And the entire cast, the audition, all the cats and their owners and the organizers are all scrambling to try to find an alternative location. And Maggie remembers that her cousin, who she hasn't seen in years, is working in a hotel in Donegal that's not too far from the place that they were supposed to be staying. So she calls her up and says, "Do you have reservations?" And the cousin says, "Yeah, are you sure you want to be staying here?" "Yeah, well, we're desperate and we need space, etc." So they head off, and the hotel is in a renovated railway station, and it's a complete dump, like a total dive. And they show up like from 5-star luxury to like leaking roof, and a storm is brewing. So they're stuck in this hotel in the middle of nowhere, because I set it on Inishowen, which is a peninsula in Donegal in Ireland. It's beautiful, like really, really stunning views. But you don't want to be there if there's a big storm happening, which there is in this story. So they're stuck all together. Variety of I don't know if anybody's seen the film Best in Show. It's a show centered around the dude from Schitt's Creek is in it. Eugene Levy, I think he's called.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of the actors in it, and it centers around a dog show. So basically the dogs and their crazy owners. This is like the cat equivalent. So you've got the show cats and their crazy owners all stuck in this hotel, storm raging, and people start dropping dead. So of course, Maggie and Lenny have to investigate. So that's the premise of the book. And it also introduces her cousin, Angel Doyle, who then ends up being the main character in my Travel PI series. Actually, Angel was only intended to be a side character in this book. And then I really love the character, and she was so different, I think, to Maggie or to a main character that I'd written before, that I said, yeah, she needs to have her own series.
That's interesting that you picked something that was much later in the series. Do you think it's still, for someone who hasn't maybe read any of your other books in the series, is it still like a good entry point to kind
Yeah.
of get a sense
Yeah.
of what it is?
I think so. I think it's a good entry point to people who are new to the series, maybe because it's not on Whisper Island. Whisper
Mm-hmm.
Island, for anybody who hasn't read the series, is the fictional island off the west coast where Maggie and Lenny and the whole movie club crew live. And this story doesn't take place there. So I thought that it would be a nice one to offer to book club people. We often have, for freebies, we often have like first in series, maybe second in series, or a theme book, like a Christmas theme book. And I thought, I'll just give them the most recent one. So yeah,
I like that.
something
I
different.
am I am not very good at I even my own stuff is very serialized. You kind of
Mhm.
have to read in order. So
Yeah.
I'm always in awe when people can write more in a standalone kind of way. That's not something I excel at very well. So kudos to you for that.
Thank you.
So what kind of gave you the idea to set this whole series with a movie club?
I'm a movie buff myself. I love old movies. I mean, my kids laugh. We have this conversation that, movies from the 80s and 90s to them
Or
are
ancient?
practically vintage. They're not even old. They're super old, ancient. And for me, I'm thinking like 40s, 50s, even 30s, um, like Clark Gable, and so on and so forth. So, and I'm a huge Hitchcock fan too. So when I was coming up with the concept of the series, I wanted my main character Maggie, to be a fish out of water. I love that comedic concept. So I made her. She's American. My mother is American. She did the opposite thing to what people usually do. People usually go from Ireland to America. She went from America to Ireland. So yeah. So anyhow, I kind of based it on that because I had seen some fish out of water moments that she'd had, like getting words wrong and culture shocks and things that she wasn't getting because she came from a big American city. And I thought this would be a great fun to put this character on a really isolated rural island and land her in what it's like to navigate with, local people. And you can't just go to the store and get fancy stuff or a fancy variety of stuff. You have to then go all the way to the mainland for that. And yeah, so that was kind of how it started. It started with the character herself. And I made it so that she herself was a huge fan of old movies. And her aunt lives on this island and runs the movie theater cafe, um, which was originally like the main setting for the mysteries. The first couple of mysteries happen in this cafe. The cafe is his movie themed, and she also runs a monthly movie club where they watch an old film together. And in the first book, during watching a film, the murder happens, and so on. So that's kind of how I got this idea. Also, the town where my grandparents lived had an old rundown like movie theater. And when I say movie theater, we're talking like it would have been 2-room thing, really,
Mm.
really teeny tiny. And it was no longer up and running when I was a kid, but it was shut. It was just abandoned. So my cousin and I used to, break in and have a look around, and you could go up to the projector room and see all the old
Yep.
equipment. And I just thought this was a really cool setting
What an
for,
inspiration there.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Speaking of inspiration, what are some of your influences in terms of writing cozies?
Whoa. There are lots. There's the classic Agatha Christie. Not just saying it, I'm an enormous Agatha Christie fan. I've read all of her books several times each in audio, listened to audio as well as read them. Niall Marsh, she was a New Zealand playwright and mystery author. I also love her mysteries. When we come to more modern influences, my influences would both be books and television. And it's not so modern now, but say a show like Murder, She Wrote. I
Mm-hmm.
adored the concept of how You had an amateur sleuth, you had the small town setting, you had recurring casts of characters. Now, obviously, not every episode happens in Cabot Cove, but she
Yep.
still manages to retain that, cozy feel with the mysteries. And what I liked about that series in particular is that it's not just it doesn't just rely on the cute factor. The scripts were really good. Like the
Mhm.
mysteries were really good. I rewatched some of them after Angela Lansbury died. My husband and I started watching some of the reruns, and I even made a note of some of the episodes to go back and really analyze how they structured the mystery, because they were really clever. Like, I usually know pretty fast who did it, even if I'm enjoying the show. But because I've read so many mysteries, watched so many mysteries,
Mhm.
I write mysteries, kind of clued in to, anticipate what might happen. And with many of those, no, I did not guess who did it.
Hmm.
Yeah. In terms of other influences, I really love Reese Bones books. She doesn't write contemporaries, but she writes historical mysteries, cozy
Mhm.
adjacent, probably. I think I would describe them. Although, wait, no, she has the Constable Evans series that was contemporary when it was first published. What I really like about her is her series structure, how she's really developed her characters over the course of, gosh, I think she's up to what, book 16 or something in her Royal Spinus series. I really like the way that she structures her stories. She doesn't always have the murder happen early on. Sometimes you have to wait for a little bit
Hmm.
and then it happens. Sometimes it's in the first chapter. So I like that variety. Yeah.
Nice. Do you feel like there always has to be a murder, or can it be some other kind of crime that has to be investigated?
Honestly, personally, no, I don't think. For me, for my personal satisfaction, no, I don't think that there needs to be a murder in every cozy mystery. However, I have found that readers' expectations in cozy mysteries, particularly for full length novels, is really with an expectation that somebody is going to die, and I'm happy to go along with that. That said, I'm very pleased when I have the opportunity to write something like a novella or a short story where, in my opinion, it's often the case that there's just not enough time, there's not enough pages, not enough words to be able to do justice to a complex murder plot.
Mhm.
And in those, I've been able to indulge my love of mysteries that are not just murders, like things get stolen or there's a puzzle to solve that doesn't involve a dead body. Yeah,
Yes, I agree with you there. I don't think they need to all have
yeah.
murder in them. It's a bit depressing otherwise. But again, maybe that's just me. So, in addition to your movie club series, you also have the travel PI series, which I think you mentioned a little bit
Yeah.
with your spinoff character there. What what is that about in more detail?
Basically, okay, I'll scroll back to the idea for the entire series concept. We had COVID, we had lockdown. We were planning, my family and I were planning to have a holiday in Nice, France. I'd been to Nice many years ago and absolutely loved it. We wanted to go there with the kids. And then 2020 lockdowns, etc., happened, and that was not happening. So I thought, gosh, I really want to travel. And when you're told suddenly you can't do something, then suddenly you want it even more. So
Hmm.
I decided to channel that into writing a a travel mystery series. And I already had the concept of Angel Doyle, but I wasn't quite sure what to do with her or where to best put her. I'd been thinking about that for a while, and then I thought, no, she'd be the kind of person who could like become an accidental PI. The whole story in Life Denise, which is the first book in the series, is like her origin story for becoming a PI, where she literally accidentally falls into a situation where she's obliged to solve a crime because her life literally depends on it. And that's how that came about. And then I thought, well, if I'm going to be setting a book in Nice in France, then it would be really cool if I had more books with her that weren't always in the same setting, that I could really make this a travel concept in the series. So
That's
the
cool.
second book in the series is Ambushed in the Alps. I live in Switzerland. I'm Irish, but live in Switzerland. So that was a setting that I felt really comfortable writing as well. The third book is Murdered in Monterosso. Monterosso is in Italy. I loved writing that, loved visiting it. That was the first place that I actually got to visit after I started writing this series, and then use it as a totally wonderful excuse to have a holiday with my family. So yeah, that was great.
That's
So yeah,
awesome.
I've always liked the idea of mysteries that are set in different places, and I'm a huge fan of the author Mary Stewart. She used to write like romantic suspenses, gothic romantic suspense type things back in the 50s, 60s, and she traveled a lot herself. So many of her stories were set in very various places.
That's
So
cool.
yeah, so that's kind of how that all came about.
That sounds really fun. Are you thinking it's going to be like a longer series or?
Yeah, I hope so. I'm working on book 4 at the moment, which is going to be Poisoned in Pompeii. So
Ooh.
yeah. Um,
So I take it that's what you're working on right now is that
yes,
particular book?
exactly. Yeah.
Do
It's
you
proving to
tend
be a ton of
to
fun.
write like multiple books at a time? So like you have two series going, or do you just do one at a time?
I would love to be one of those writers who can write 2 books at once. I've tried it and I can't do it. I'm very much I'm a very high, actually, if anybody knows the Clifton strengths, I'm high focus. So I get like that like total tunnel vision focus on a book. And I find it very difficult to switch from one book to the other for that reason. So no, I'm just working on the one story. Now that said, while I'll be actively writing a story, I will plot another maybe. So
Hmm.
I do think about other stories, but I can't actively write on more than one at a time.
Yeah, I get that. I used to be able to juggle multiple things back in law school, and
Yeah.
then I just can't anymore.
Yeah.
Occasionally I'll like put something aside to focus on something else for like a very short period of time because my
Hmm.
brain needs a little bit of a break
Yeah.
to work through something, but I can't actually just like work on multiple things at the same time.
Yeah. Same. What I can do is I'm currently working on a translation of book 1 in my movie club mystery series into German. So that is a task that I can do after. If I say I write in the morning and then I can translate maybe a part of a chapter in the afternoon, then that's using a different part of my brain. I feel
Yep. Yep.
it's not the same creative energy. Yeah, it's my words that I'm translating, but it's not the same creative focus that's required to do that.
I find that I can do that as well. I can spend some time writing and then do other like administrative tasks,
Yeah.
scheduling newsletters or promotions or
Hmm.
website stuff or whatever. But yeah. Do you speak German?
I do. Yeah, I
Interesting.
do. Yeah, I moved to Germany in I was only talking about it today because my husband needed the details for some forms he was filling out. And then I was working out like how long have I lived in a German speaking country now? So I moved to Germany in 2000 as to finish my master's degree in German history. And I ended up staying there for a few years, then met my husband, and I moved to Switzerland then in 2006. So yeah, it's been, wow,
Long time.
it's been a while.
Wow. That is very impressive. I took Spanish in high school and college and have not used it since.
Well,
I can understand, but reading and speaking, like not so much anymore.
yeah, I think it's so much easier when you actually live the language when you're forced to,
Hmm.
because I took French in school. And French is also one of the Swiss official languages, but we don't live in a French speaking area.
Oh,
So I took French for years, and then I took some German classes in university because of my subject. I needed to be able to start reading stuff in the original. And I did a couple of language courses in Germany through the Goethe Institute, and it was so different. It was such a different experience. It was so much faster to pick up the language when, you know, you're going to class and then you have to go out and you have to get your groceries in the language too.
Yep.
So yeah, that for sure helped.
Awesome. So, where can readers find you on the interwebs?
At my website, zarakeane.com. And if you do zarakeane.com/newsletter, you can then sign up for my mailing list and you'll get a free story.
Always love a good free story.
Yep, same.
Awesome. Well, I think that wraps up our interview for today. I hope everyone has had either a chance to read Apocalypse Meow or you're going to get to it this month. Enjoy, guys.
Thank you so much for having me.
Not a problem. Had a
Bye.
wonderful time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.